Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful idea from Adam Grant's book, Think Again. It all comes down to a simple question. In a world that's changing faster than ever, is it more important to feel right or to actually get it right? Let's jump in.
So, let's rewind to 2009 for a second. BlackBerry was an absolute giant. They owned nearly half of the entire US smartphone market. Presidents had them, celebrities, everybody. But fast forward just 5 years, they were at less than 1%. Poof, gone. How on earth does a titan like that just vanish?
You see, the guy behind BlackBerry, Mike Lazaridis, was a legit genius. So this epic collapse wasn't about a lack of intelligence, not at all. It was about something much more dangerous. Getting locked into one way of thinking and completely failing to rethink.
So what are these mental traps that get us stuck? Well, according to Adam Grant, we tend to slip into one of three modes whenever we think and talk, and you'll probably recognize them.
First up, we've got our inner preacher. This happens when one of our core beliefs gets challenged. We immediately stop listening and, we get up on the soapbox and start delivering a sermon. The goal here isn't to learn anything new, it's just to protect our precious ideals.
Then there's our inner prosecutor. This is when we switch from defense to offense. We're not trying to protect our own ideas anymore. We're trying to poke holes in someone else's. We spot all the flaws, line up our arguments, and we go in for the win without ever really stopping to ask, hey, wait, am I actually right here? And finally, we have the inner politician. Now, this mode has nothing to do with truth. It's all about popularity. We're basically campaigning for approval from our tribe, our friends, our followers online. We just tell them what they want to hear so we can win their support. Okay, so you might think, I don't do that, but these modes can create huge blind spots. Get this. There's this incredible story of a psychologist named Stephen Greenspan. He was a leading expert on gullibility. He was literally finishing a book about it when he invested his entire life savings with, you guessed it, Bernie Madoff.
So how does an expert on getting duped get so, duped? It was a perfect storm of these three mindsets. He was in preacher mode, totally buying his sister's sermon about how great the fund was. He went into full prosecutor mode, attacking his friend who was skeptical, calling it cynicism. And he was in politician mode, trying to please the family friend who was his advisor. It was a total failure to just stop and rethink.
Okay, so if the preacher, prosecutor, and politician lead us astray, what's the antidote? Grant says there's a fourth mindset we need to adopt. We need to learn to think like a scientist. And the difference here is all about the goal. See, preachers and prosecutors, they want to feel right. Their main goal is just winning the argument. But a scientist wants to be right. And that means their goal is finding the actual truth, even if it means proving their own original idea wrong.
Now, thinking like a scientist isn't about wearing a lab coat or using beakers. It's a mindset. It means you treat your opinions like they're just hypotheses, ideas to be tested, not sacred truths to be defended. You actually doubt what you think you know, you get curious about what you don't, and, this is the key, you update your views when new data comes in.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great in a textbook, but does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's look at the proof, because it turns out the proof is in the profits. So some researchers took 100 Italian entrepreneurs and split them into two groups. One group got special training on how to think like scientists, to treat their business strategy not as gospel, but as a theory they needed to go out and test. And the results, after just 1 year, they were absolutely staggering. The control group, the ones with standard training, they averaged less than $300 in revenue. But the scientific thinking group, over $12,000. That is 40 times more. Why? Simple. When an idea wasn't working, they pivoted. They rethought their entire approach, while the other group just kept preaching their original failing plan. And this brings us right back to BlackBerry. Mike Lazaridis was stuck in preacher mode, defending his precious keyboard to the very end. But over at Apple, a really different story was playing out with an equally stubborn leader, Steve Jobs. So when his engineers first came to him with the idea of turning the iPod into a phone, that was his actual reaction. He was in full-on prosecutor mode, totally convinced it was a stupid idea that would just cannibalize his #1 product, the iPod. But here's the difference. His team did what BlackBerry's team couldn't.
They got their leader to rethink. They gently urged him to doubt his own convictions. And here's the brilliant part. They framed the iPhone not as a disruption, but as continuity. They told him, look, Apple won't become a phone company. We'll stay a computer company. We'll just be putting an incredibly powerful computer into everyone's pocket.
And that really brings us to the final crucial takeaway from all this. It's about consciously choosing which mental cycle you want to operate in. On one hand, you have the dangerous overconfidence cycle. It starts with pride, which hardens into unshakable conviction. That conviction leads you into bias, where you only see evidence that confirms what you already believe. And that validation just fuels your pride, closing the loop. It's a trap. But the alternative is the really powerful rethinking cycle. This one starts with humility, admitting what you don't know. That humility allows you to doubt your existing beliefs. That doubt sparks curiosity to go learn more. And what you discover reinforces your humility. This isn't a trap. This is the path to actual growth. This quote really just nails the whole idea, doesn't it? The purpose of learning isn't to affirm our beliefs. It's to evolve our beliefs. So the final question is really for you. The next time your ideas are challenged, are you going to reach for the sermon or are you going to reach for the microscope?